welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that helps you become your best self, and today we are talking about how to handle stressors with healthy coping skills. But before we jump into that, as always, I want to invite you to come say hi to me on social media. I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo on both TikTok and Instagram, so just come by and say hi, and let's chat in the DMs. And I do want to remind you that if you take a look at the show notes below, it'll show you again how to spell like Sabrina Joy Perozzo if you're unsure, to find me on socials, as well as an email address, realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com, to send me any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topics, suggestions, anything and everything that you'd like to send me. Go ahead and send me an email. And you can also sign up for the weekly Wednesday night newsletter. I say nighttime because it's like 6 or 7 when it gets sent out nowadays, but it's great because it has some other like deep thoughts and stories that I don't generally share everywhere else, at least not as thoughtfully put together as it does in the newsletter, and then just updates on things that are happening. Things are slowly happening around here, and just so you can like kind of stay in touch. And also, and like if I make it like an announcement, sometimes I try to just hold it for the newsletter people. So check that out. And the other thing that I want to mention is being able to submit topic suggestions anonymously. There's a link for that. And the Emotions Everyday Planner Journal Hybrid is still for sale. And after today, it will go up to its regular price, which is $32 plus $4 shipping. And so right now it's $22 with free shipping. And so if you are interested in that or buying that as a gift, please go ahead and grab a copy of that. But let's go ahead and jump into today's episode, which again is how to handle stressors, healthy coping skills. So personally for me, I've hit rock bottom like many times in my life, and I'm not ashamed to admit that. I think it's actually important that we admit that more often, because then we honestly realize where we have come from, right? We are not just these beings that just grow up and we're like perfect and everything is great and we have like teeny tiny struggles and then we were just here who we are. No, we have hit rock bottom. We have gone through problems. It's like if anyone's trying to present themselves as not going through any problems or not hitting rock bottom, then they're probably lying or trying to cover up what they've been through. I think that maybe if they're younger, maybe they haven't hit rock bottom yet, or they haven't recognized that that was rock bottom for them then. You know what I mean? So anyway, I've hit rock bottom many times in my life, but there was a particular time that I hit rock bottom while dealing with like people pleasing way too much. Like I was just like so hardcore being a people pleaser at this time in my life. And I believe it was around the time that our daughter was 5. I believe so. I believe she was like in kindergarten, and she actually went to the school across the street from our townhouse. It was so convenient, and it actually worked out perfectly because that was the school that had like the Spanish immersion program that she's been in her whole like education so far. Anyway, it was like so perfect. But it was when she was 5, because I remember like where the incident happened, that I just like I hit rock bottom. So my whole existence at that time came crashing down when I revealed to my husband that I had a habit of cutting myself. And I've shared this like several times here and there on the podcast, and I'm not ashamed of it. I think I was at the time, of course. And that actually wasn't the first time in my life that I was struggling with that. I started struggling with it in college with all the stress and everything that I was going through there, with not just like going to school, but also dealing with my dad and like all of that drama and other things that were happening. So this was actually like the second time, I would say, where I was dealing with it and using it as a way for me to handle the stress that I was going through, right? So, and I didn't just casually tell him I wasn't doing it. It wasn't just like, oh, let's sit on the couch and, let me tell you something. It definitely was not like that. That would have been better. It would have been better. I actually ended up doing it in front of him, like in a moment of rage. And for the life of me, I cannot remember what I was upset about. I'm pretty sure that he cannot either. And I just remember that I was standing on the stairs and he was in the living room. So from the stairs in our like little townhouse, it was super cute, but not large. I could see him. And I was yelling about something. I think I had gone down the stairs and got a knife and then got back up, like partly up the stairs, and then like did it. And then I remember throwing the knife into the kitchen because I was able to see the kitchen from the stairs as well. And yeah, it was dramatic. It was a lot. I was doing a lot. I was doing a lot. Um, but it wasn't good, obviously. It was it was rough, and that was definitely like a moment where I hit rock bottom because even like I had been doing it a lot up to that moment, and then something just broke inside me. And it's probably one of those times in my life that I regret the way I was handling my stress the most because I was taking it out on myself. And luckily, our daughter was not present for that event. She was in her room, thank goodness. But even if she was there, it would have been really scary, right? And but we still would have had a conversation with her. But I was like out of control in that moment, and so yeah, it's definitely like probably the like, one of the like, top three times in my life where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is the way that I coped. I didn't know how to cope in a healthy way with everything that I was dealing with. And so I share that with you just to be completely like vulnerable and transparent with you to understand that like we can go through such difficult, hard things and think that we have chosen a way to cope and deal with our stressors and problems. And then my way was also like a way of like gaining control over my life where I felt like everything else was out of control, right? Because I was doing it to myself and I was numbing the pain that I was going through by administering other pain that I was in control of, right? And so I just wanted to share that so you understand that if you have done something similar, you don't have to feel shameful for it because we will be able to use those times, our even our deepest, darkest times, to grow and reflect and understand where we were and what we did and what we need to change and what needs to shift and move forward. You know what I mean? And to understand that maybe you feel, I don't know, however you feel. I just wanted to share that story to understand that you can hit rock bottom multiple times in your life. And sometimes you can be doing something that's really hurtful to you, and then it could just like blow up all at once. But, when we are going through things that cause us stress, or it's a traumatic event or something, traumatic experience, we end up adopting a way to handle whatever is going on so we don't break down completely, right? So we don't just like, fall, like just combust into dust. It's a way for us to hang in there through what we're going through and manage our painful and difficult emotions, right? We don't want to just like give up. We want to like hang on, and we feel like we have to hang on because of other people in our life, responsibilities, and whatever the case may be. But what we choose to do to get through those times is known as a coping mechanism, which I'm sure you've heard. So, a coping mechanism or a coping skill, like whatever you want. And it's very, very important that we choose a coping mechanism that is healthy and not unhealthy, which seems very like, yeah, I intuitive, like a thing to choose. Because, something unhealthy will only lead to more problems in the long run. However, it might not, spring to your mind immediately to identify what would be something unhealthy versus something that would be healthy, right? So, you know, um, it's just important to identify that. And like, I've found that a lot of times we will skip over things that seem, very common knowledge, and sometimes they're not. So I just wanted to make sure that was just very clear. Like it's very important, very very important. Two varies that we choose a coping mechanism that is healthy and not unhealthy. And I wanted to make sure that I noted that when we talk about events that cause us stress or trauma, I don't mean just negative experiences, things like breakups or a divorce, abuse, or grief will for sure benefit from like a healthy coping mechanism, for sure. And those are all like negative events that we've experienced, but also events like, having a child, getting married, or even purchasing a house. I've definitely, like, we're experiencing that right now, can cause stress that can lead to needing like a healthy way for you to cope and for you to get through this difficult time. You know what I mean? And so don't just believe this like coping mechanisms or coping skills are for when life feels bad. It is not only for that. It can be for when life feels good and we're grateful, but it's a tough shift we are making in life. So for us, we just bought a home and we're in the process of slowly moving there. And we're so very lucky that it's so close that we can do kind of a slow move. And next week we'll do like a bigger move where we finally get everything out and then we still have plenty of time to clean and stuff. But as happy and grateful that we are to be able to move into a home that is ours and that we own, that we can like, fix up and stay in for a while, it is a lot of stress and it takes a lot of time and energy and it has, led to bickering and fights and arguments and hurt feelings and dealing with the stress of that and having to figure out how you're going to afford this, that, and the other and make decisions on budgets and stuff like that. It can be a lot of stress. And so finding a healthy coping mechanism to handle that is very, very important because if you lean on something negative, like, hurting yourself, it's not going to make the situation better. It's going to make it so much worse. So today we are going to look at 5 different types of coping mechanisms with examples of each. In the past, not on the, I think like, mm, I don't know, 2 years ago, over 2 years ago, I did do a short episode talking about like coping, but it wasn't like a deep episode at all whatsoever. And I feel like I have talked about coping mechanisms on my social channels before, but generally I will just do like a short list of healthy ones and a short list of unhealthy ones to compare, which is kind of what we're going to do today, but not really because I found some research where it was categorizing the types of coping skills and mechanisms, which I thought was really neat and kind of to think of it in that way as opposed to just a long list to choose from. And so that is the way that we're going to do it. But before we get into that, we are going to discuss some unhealthy coping mechanisms that people adopt, thinking it will help when, again, it really just causes more harm than help. So we are going to go through a list of those really quick just to kind of identify like why those aren't helpful. I would say the majority of them are very common sense why they wouldn't be helpful, but we're going to go through them anyway. So the first one is for the unhealthy coping mechanism is procrastination. So obviously procrastination is not going to help you putting off anything. It's not going to help you feel better or feel more accomplished or be able to like move forward in your life. And so it's important that we realize that putting things off, that's not the way to cope. The way to cope is to like create a plan and create goals and like steps that we need to take or ask for help and ask someone to assist us in getting this thing done if we're just continually putting it off or really digging deep into our emotions to figure out what is going on. Why the heck are we continuing to put this thing off and really figure it out as opposed to pushing it to the end to whenever the due date is and inherently causing more stress in the end. The second unhealthy one that I want to share is isolating or withdrawing. So, if you're pulling away from the people in your life that you normally spend a lot of time with, that you really cherish the time and the energy and the connections and relationships, but you start pulling away from them, and it could be for a variety of reasons. Maybe it's just like you feel ashamed or you feel worried to share what you're going through and you don't want anyone to judge you or offer any opinions and you start pulling away and you don't want to talk about it, or you start pulling away when something good happens because you think that maybe because you had a child, which is an amazing, blessed event, is going to be some sort of like bother on people. And so that's the way that you're coping with the stress of your life changing and how is that going to affect your social life and how you interact with other people or things like that. So it's definitely going to be unhealthy for you to isolate and withdraw. Honestly, you just need to, you know, bite the bullet and test those relationships to say, like, not necessarily like a test, but, just continue living life the way that you were as best you can and see how it works for you and how it works for them. And maybe some changes will be made, but there's no reason to like pull yourself away and hide because of shame and fear when really that's going to, again, increase your stress. The next one is criticizing others. Obviously, we do not want to go around criticizing other people, making them feel bad because we're feeling bad. That's just projecting your feelings, and that's not what we're going to do here. So, criticizing others needs to definitely not be on the list of coping mechanisms because, again, it's just really you're lashing out, you're projecting your feelings, and nothing is getting better, nothing is changing. If anything, you might feel worse later. You're not making someone else feel worse, but you're encouraging them to feel worse with whatever you are lashing out at them about. The next one is refusing help from others. Obviously, if people see that you're in need and you're like, no, I'm good, but you're really not good and you're lying to them, like, why would you do that? Why would you deny yourself the help and the assistance of someone that wants to help you? So let's say that you did move and someone wants to help you, like, unpack, or actually, I do have a very relevant story to that because when we moved into this house, which we rent, the one we currently live in. And we've lived here for 2 years, just a little bit over 2 years. And when we moved, because we rented in here so we could see if we liked the neighborhood, now we bought a house. But when we moved in here, my mother-in-law wanted so badly to come visit us, and they live like 90 minutes north, so not that far, and help me unpack. And that is the last thing that I wanted because I have control issues. And I was just like, oh, I don't want her to come help unpack because I was telling my husband, I was like, I don't want her to tell me where things go. Like, I know where I want things to go, and that's just it. And he was like, if you just tell her, then she'll know. And just, she'll give suggestions, but just allow her to help because she wants to help. And so, but my way to cope with the stress of moving and then having to put this whole house together from the other house that we had, that we still have, but that we were living in, and it was a lot. It was a lot, but I was like, I wanted to refuse help, but help was being offered. And so my husband's like, no, you gotta talk me into letting it. And it was helpful because, she may have put a couple things in the spaces that I didn't intend, like, want them to go, but that wasn't a big deal. And she wasn't like fighting me on it. And it actually turned out to be a better situation. So if you're refusing help, or maybe you had like a new child, or you've had surgery or something, and you're refusing help from others, like, you should definitely accept that help while you can get it and work on, getting like resetting and getting back to that baseline of your life where you feel like things are manageable. The next one is abusing substances. This is very, like, it's common knowledge to understand that if you are starting to abuse whatever, like, drug or substance, that is definitely an unhealthy coping mechanism. That's not going to make anything better. It's going to make a lot of things worse and cause more problems for you down the line. The next one is blaming yourself. If you spend all this time blaming yourself for whatever is going on, or for the stress that you're having, or for why this or that didn't work out, again, it's not going to solve any problems. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to really help you move forward. It's only going to actually push you back and hold you captive in this negative mindset that is doing so much hurt and no help, like negative help, negative 100 help, negative 100 help. The next one, second to last, is overspending. This is a very practical one. And if you feel like things are out of control in your life or stress, and then you decide that, hey, I'm just going to hop on over to Target and just buy whatever I want, or I'm going to get online and I'm just going to go on a shopping spree because I feel like I need things in my life to make me feel fulfilled, that is a problem. Maybe should that be an episode? Do you think that talking about that, especially during like this time of the year, if you're listening when this is being released, which is November of 2022, getting closer to the holiday season and spending money, do you think that would be appropriate? If you like that topic idea, and I'm going to see if I can pull people on Instagram too, talking about how things don't fulfill us or shouldn't. Ooh, is that a good one? Let me know. Let me know. Hit me up, please, please, please. And if you do hit me up, maybe I'll send you a gift card. Just throwing that out there. Okay, so overspending. So you're using it to fulfill this like hole, this like problem that you have, when really that is an unhealthy coping mechanism, because if you overspend more than you have and it gets you in trouble with paying your other bills, that really sucks. And last but not least, self-harm, which I've already shared my own personal story on how this is super duper unhealthy coping mechanism that will literally and physically cause more harm than it will help in your life. So, understanding that list, and of course, that is not a conclusive list of unhealthy coping mechanisms. There are so many more that I didn't list, but I just wanted to give you a general overview of different types of ones or different ones to understand and consider, and maybe reflect on whether you have engaged in any of those or adopted those as your coping mechanisms. And maybe I would encourage you to reconsider using those ones. But now let's dive into the 5 different types of coping mechanisms that can be really helpful to us when we're going through stressors and traumatic events. As always, all of these tips, advice is based on my own knowledge and research and my own experience and the experiences of others that I am able to share. And if you feel like this does not align with what you feel would help you understand coping mechanisms or ones that would be helpful to you, please seek out a therapist or a counselor because they'll be able to just help you one on one. And if that doesn't work for you, I encourage you to go to our best friend Google and type in, healthy coping mechanisms, healthy coping skills, and you will find so much research on ones that would might fit you better because this, again, will not be a conclusive list. It's just interesting research of a breakdown of like different types categorized and then having examples within those. Okay, let's dive in. Like I said, we have 5. The first one I want to talk about as like a type of coping mechanism is self soothing. Self soothing. So, this is like focusing on ways to cope that deal with your 5 senses. And it's interesting. I want to read more about it because I feel like for the longest time, it felt very like woo woo to me that, using our senses to ground ourselves, like it just seemed very like, I don't know. And I need to read more research about it, but it talking to other people and like reading things online, and then I've tried it myself, just go and step on like the grass, the ground outside with your bare feet. It can be very, very comforting. Very like, you're reconnecting to the earth, to everything that's happening like around you, your environment, your physical environment. I would say it's pretty awesome. So, using our senses to ground ourselves and reset can be like really helpful because it focuses on getting in touch with yourself on a deeper level through your senses. So, and the one that I was talking about, like, feet on the grass, on the ground, it's like, this touch connection that is pretty fantastic. So we'll go through the 5 senses really quick and like examples of coping mechanisms within that so you have a good idea. So for touch, it could be cuddling in a blanket. I love that. Or like a heated blanket since it's wintertime. um, Actually, I use a heated blanket during the summer too because the AC is cranked up too high, and it's just like you don't want to turn it down because it's hot everywhere else. You gotta keep yourself warm. So yeah, it could be cuddling in a blanket or taking a relaxing bath. And I think also you could throw in like, going outside and stepping on the ground and the grass if you can, if it's not too cold, and just reconnecting and feeling that touch. That's just so, I don't know if the correct word would be like invigorating, but just so connected and complete, right? And that could be a way to cope with what's going on around you through touch. And for hearing, it could be listening to music you enjoy, or even like a podcast, or even like one of those ASMR recordings. I know they have them going live all the time on like TikTok, and you can look up so many different ones on YouTube. And so that could be something for you to like kind of zone out on and focus in and kind of help to calm you if you find those things to be helpful. For a sight, it could be enjoying like a scenic area around you or like admiring art and things like that, looking at the clouds. I like those kind of things. Even today, I do spend a lot of time like looking out the window. Luckily, where I live right now, it has a perfect, beautiful view of the green space behind the fence. And so I can see deer often. And I think we've seen a couple cats and bunnies, birds. It's unfortunate because the new house we're moving to, my daughter and my husband have the back of the house rooms. And so, like for my husband's office and for my daughter's room, so they get to actually stare off into green space because lucky enough, our house is, is looking out into green space again. But my office is facing the front of the house, so I'll be able to see the street and all the drama that happens in the neighborhood. I don't think there's drama, but anyway, it's something that I love to do. So if I'm like driving around and I see beautiful scenery, I like to just look at it. It's calming and it's helping, whatever I'm going through that day. For taste, it could be having like a nice cup of tea or like a sweet treat, or even chewing some gum. I know gum can get some people in trouble, and I know that there's a variety. Like dentists like hate gum. I guess that's like a rumor that I've heard. And I grew up with a gal named Natasha, actually, that her dad uh, is or was a dentist. I'm not sure if he still is, but I mean, I guess he still is because he practiced it. So I think like once you're a doctor, you're always a doctor, right? So anyway, he's a dentist, and she would always tell us how they aren't allowed to like have gum, and I think like a lot of different candies because of how bad it is for the teeth. So it's like whatever you feel like for taste, that would really help you. Maybe it's, having a nice cold like soda, especially if you don't drink soda a lot. Like I don't drink like sodas. I drink a lot of sparkling water, but not like sodas a lot. So having that is just like so like, oh, cracking open a can of like vanilla Coke. It's delicious. If you haven't had it, you should try it. I love it. But I try not to do it all the time. So that's a nice like taste thing to help cope with some stress. I will have like a half a can of vanilla Coke, put it in the fridge. Yes, it might be flat, but the next day it doesn't matter. Still tastes good to me. And it's great. And then the last one is smell, which could be like burning candles, classic smelling flowers, or like another scent you prefer that feels comforting. So maybe you prefer to do like those wax warmers or those plug in smells or burning incense or like whatever it may be. And really having like those scents, like, feel calming and feel soothing and feel like relaxing and like, like maybe draw you back to a different time where things were just like felt like so good and manageable and a really great time of your life. So, self soothing, that is the first type of coping mechanism that we're talking about. It's focusing on your using your five senses to really help you get through whatever is going on. The second one is distractions. Super classic. I love a good distraction. So you're forcing yourself to not be consumed by your problems, struggles, or stressors by doing something else that takes your focus. So you're no longer going to be like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And you're instead going to be like, okay, let me binge watch this whole show right now. So this could be like doing a puzzle. Puzzles are great. Watching TV, or, because you're watching a movie, a TV show, whatever it is. Maybe you're reading a book and you get like really, really into those books. I know that everyone is into Colleen Hoover right now. And I just want to say, this might be really obnoxious, but I just want to say that I was into Colleen Hoover like way back when. Like when I was telling you about the story about, me not choosing the healthiest coping mechanism, I was into Colleen Hoover then, okay? And that was like a decade ago. That was a decade ago because our daughter is like 14 and a half now. So, and that happened like I think when she was 5 or maybe like right before she turned 5, regardless, because we still lived in that house when she went to preschool. But yeah, I was into so I just feel like an OG fan of Colleen Hoover's because I was there when there was like 2, 3 books and I was living my best life. So anyway, so yeah, distraction for reading a good book, playing a game. So whether it's like a board game or like a video game or computer game, like whatever it is, like doing that, or doing an activity with other people that you enjoy. So maybe you're going to go to an escape room, maybe you're going to go to the pool, maybe you're going to. I think people like, okay, well, here where I live in Washington State, you can go to an indoor pool in the wintertime. Maybe that's not a thing everywhere. I don't know. So you can go to do an activity with friends. So it's just really distracting you from thinking too much about what is currently going on and the problems and the issues and the stressors that you're facing, giving your mind a break from focusing all that because a lot of times when you don't focus too hard on what you're going through, your subconscious is still working on it. And so you can come to conclusions later and aha moments and be like, wow, okay, we figured it out without stressing yourself out more because you're constantly thinking about it. Okay, number three. Number three type of coping skill would be do the opposite. Now, there's a little bit of carefulness that needs to go into this one of doing the opposite. So instead of feeding into something negative on top of your stressor, you do the opposite, as long as it's not even more negative. And you would think, well, Sabrina, if it's negative, like obviously we would do something that's the opposite, which would be positive. But I feel like sometimes people can get like a little slippery slope here and think that the opposite I'm talking about is like something even more negative. So you're continuing down the line. And that's what I mean. It needs to be something that's like on the other end, on the other spectrum of more positive, even in the neutral realm, because it's still the opposite. So, for example, if you are feeling really like down on yourself and just telling yourself how you feel like you're a piece of crap and you're no good and you can't do this, that, and the other, you need to start engaging in positive self talk, which would be the opposite. And tell yourself how great you are and how hard you're working and everything that you're doing, and you are capable and you are worthy and you are everything. So you can throw some affirmations in there, positive self talk, and turn it around. Or if you want to like hurt yourself, how I was talking about at the top of the show, because you need something that helps you feel in control of your situation, instead, do something that comforts you, like take a nap. Gotta love a good nap. And or a good meal. I love having like good takeout, good like Thai takeout. That'd be fantastic. Or an activity you love the most. So if there's something that you really, really love, maybe you don't make time for it all the time, and you decide to do that. Maybe it's like painting, or maybe it's like designing something, or whatever it may be. Engage yourself in that, because it would be the opposite of wanting to hurt yourself. You actually want to help yourself and comfort yourself in this thing. And you could even just like lower the amount of pain to just snapping a rubber band. So if you are hurting yourself and you can only get yourself so far away in the opposite direction, as opposed to actually inflicting like pain with some sort of hurtful thing, instead just like pop a rubber band on your wrist and use that to like snap back to cause that little bit of pain that will kind of resemble what was happening, and a cup kind of like it's kind of like a nicotine patch where it can help wean you off of doing the thing that you shouldn't be doing, you know? So just keep that in mind, right? And if you feel like you can't handle what's happening, like if that's the thing that you're focusing on, remind yourself of all the times you felt similarly, like you couldn't handle it, but you were able to handle it. Like you're just reminding yourself, hey, I felt this way in the past, and look where we are now. We can do that again, right? Okay. All right, number 4, emotional awareness. I don't really need to dive too much into this because I talk about this all of the time, all of the time. But emotional awareness, so taking the time to understand how you're truly feeling, is super helpful to knowing how you can progress and keep moving forward, right? You don't want to get stuck. You don't want to fall down in your pit of despair and just be like there, living your life so negatively, so like down in the dumps. No, you don't want to live there. You want to like stop by for a minute and then peace out really quick. So, better understanding what's going on. So taking the time to identify like how you're feeling by either like talking it out, whether it's by yourself or with someone else, if that's what you feel comfortable with, you can just talk it out by yourself. Or using like an emotions wheel is helpful. If you don't know what that is, I would go to our best friend is Google, type in emotions wheel. So many images will come up. And it is such an amazing tool and resource for better understanding yourself, for like emotional awareness, self awareness, that I put it in the journal that I am currently selling, Emotions Every Day, because it is that integral to your emotional growth. It is amazing, okay? And so it just helps you to get to the core emotion of what you're feeling rather just being like, I'm sad. That doesn't give us any depth. That doesn't give us any like details. Like we need to get down to the surface. So consider that. You could also spend time journaling if that's what you're into, which is exactly why I made the journal, for people to do emotional growth and awareness, but in more efficient time, in more guided, if you didn't know what to do, if you don't like journaling. So you can find like a resource like that, or just like, grab an empty like notebook and start journaling, or do it on your phone, do it on your computer, whatever you want. Or there is always just attend therapy sessions, right? Or you can do that and then other things on top of that. That's what I do, because I do go to therapy every single week. So getting to the core of the emotions will help the most. It will, because you will be able to cope better with what's going on and understand yourself and how you are going through this, and the best way for you to move forward and not get stuck, right? So, emotional awareness, amazing. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about mindfulness. So being mindful grounds you to what's happening here in the present, in the right now. which can be really difficult for us to focus on because so many things are happening, or we're preparing them to happen, or we hope that they're going to happen, or we wish they hadn't happened. We can get so caught up in the past or the future rather than just being like, what's happening right now. And this can be really helpful with people that struggle with like anxiety and worry or even regret, right? So, taking time for a walk, which I did today, and it was so nice. I did that while I was listening to a podcast, but it was still so nice. It was like so many different coping skills that we've talked about so far, all in one. So you're taking a walk while listening to a podcast, admiring the scenery, right? Getting some exercise in. Like it's pretty darn pretty fantastic. It was so good. So, taking time for a walk, meditation, if you're into that, breathing exercises. I think even yoga is considered like yoga meditation kind of thing, mindfulness, or even just pointing things out around you that are happening to like recenter yourself to the present. And this can really help if you are so focused on the past or the future, like I was talking about. So, pointing things out around you that are actually actively happening. You can be like, okay, the dog is lying there, and there are birds outside flying around, and it is currently really windy, or it's raining, and I am feeling hungry or tired, and my husband is feeling this way, and I need to go do this soon, like really soon, like that day. So just really kind of identifying, like pointing things around you. And it can also help to like ground you if you do feel like a panic attack or something is coming on. So mindfulness, just being in the present, enjoying the present, not allowing the past or the future to hold you captive, to worry and have anxiety and freak out, which is what I have done for so many years, but it's gotten so much better. So those are the 5 coping skills, like types, kind of categories, and those are fantastic. So I hope that's helpful for you in deciding a healthy way to cope when you're going through struggles and shifts of seasons in your life and trauma and all of these things, and not adopt a negative, unhealthy coping mechanism that will only make things worse. So, but that's all I have to share with you guys today. So thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast. Again, with me, Sabrina. I really appreciate every single one of you. I appreciate you for downloading, sharing, and listening to the show. Check out the show notes below to sign up for the weekly newsletter, to come say hi to me on social media, to submit an anonymous topic suggestion, to vent anonymously, to visit my website, to purchase a journal for you or someone else that you think could be beneficial towards, send an email. I don't know if I already said that. All of the things. Check it out. Do what you want to do. But until next time, have a good one, and I will see y'all next time. Bye, everyone.